Hey there, folks. So, last episode we ended off by adding in the add item and decay item logic to our inventory component. We also created the basic inventory component to start with. This episode, we're going to try and get things finished off. We're going to start with, obviously, our remove item. So, what we're going to be doing here is very similar to what we did for the add item. We're going to check to make sure it's valid and that we're not trying to remove nothing. If we are, we're going to return false. Now, this time around, we're not worried about checking if we have too many slots because we're removing things, obviously. So, and again, we're going to go through and do a reverse for loop. So for int I equals contents dot num, not slash, dot num, I equals contents dot num minus 1. Again, index base. Where do we want? No, no, we don't need to go. We're going to start from the beginning. For int I equals 0. We're going to start at the first one. This doesn't want to be a reverse for loop. I less than contents dot num I plus plus. Yeah. Where's that plus plus I? Plus plus I. So if no, that's I plus plus. Incremented at the end. If contents I dot item data equals item, we know we found something. Yes, yeah, we know we found something, sorry. If contents I dot quantity, current quantity, is greater than the amount, that means we have more in the stack, so we're just going to go contents at I dot current quantity minus equals the amount, and then we're going to return true because we've removed however many we needed to. Else, well, we don't even need the else. So it's going to be amount minus equal contents I dot current quantity contents dot remove at, oh no, ICO was doing plus plus I. Remove at I. There was a reason why I was doing plus plus I. So plus plus I minus minus I if amount less than or equal to 0, return true. No, let's I minus minus. Yep. So I need to do return amount less than or equal to 0. Okay, so just to explain, I might have these backwards. I may have these the wrong way around. So to explain what this one is doing, we're saying remove this item, remove 10 of this item. If we don't have a valid item or that amount is 0, which it isn't obviously, we're going to return false. Then we're going to iterate through our inventory. We're going to say if the item in this slot is the same item, we're going to check is the current stack size more than we're trying to remove? If it is, we're just going to remove the amount and we're going to say we're done. If it's not, we are going to remove that current quantity from that stack from our amount value. That's why these need to be references. We're going to remove that item slot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say drop I back down, so that, say this was 2. We're going to say drop it back down to 1, so that the next time this cycles back around, we're going to check what's in slot 2 again. Because what was in 3 with this one, what was in slot 3 gets moved down to slot 2, or index 3 to index 2. So now that we've got that one, transfer item 2. Let's see, what do I got for my notes in that? So it's if is valid. Actually, it's if it's not valid. And that's target inventory. Target in. If it's not valid, or not is valid item, or amount less than or equal to 0. These are all conditions where we don't want this to do anything. Return false. So int t amount equals amount. If remove item t amount. Say if we're taking it away from this inventory, so if we have enough to remove it, int add amount equals amount. Oh, my notes are all over the place. If target inventory add item add amount return true. I hate how that defaults to that. That is not my formatting of braces. No, this is, so we're removing it there. If remove item. Oh, no, that's a reference. So T amount. No, this should be T amount. Oh no, I see. We've sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here, and I've got this little backwards. So that's return true. Then we need, if it fails, we're going to say it didn't work, so it's going to be add item T amount. Okay, we're going to take it out of our inventory, try to add it to the other inventory. And the reason why we're doing this is this gets changed. So say we only took out, we wanted to take out 10, but we only took out 5. This is going to be a different amount. Add amount equals amount. This... Yeah, adding it back if it fails. And this is going to be return false. And then this is where my notes are a little weird, because in here even if this returns false, it's still going to have removed items, so we need to do this again, which means we can just do this. I think I need to look at this over again. Okay, we want to transfer 10, so this is good. I need to look at my notes on this one. I am getting super confused. Like this. Oh. All right, so you won't have noticed it, but I did pause the video recording there while I was doing this. Right in here, this is what was confusing me. So to go through, if we are trying to transfer 10 items over, T amount is going to be 10. If we were only able to remove 5, T amount is going to be a 5. But here we're trying to add 10. So what we need to do is do a check here. So it's going to be T amount is equal to 0. If it is T amount, not T amount. If T amount is 0, we're going to use the amount. Otherwise, we're going to use amount minus T amount. So, just to explain, to re-explain, I should say, we have 10 we're trying to transfer. In here, we set a temporary value for the temporary amount, hence T amount, to 10. Using our remove item, if we go up here, if for whatever reason, and this is for validation, it shouldn't happen, you shouldn't be trying to remove more than's in a stack, but just in case. If the full amount can be removed, we just actually sorry, I'm confusing my own logic here. Yeah, we're not modifying amount. So no, okay, this doesn't need to be a reference on remove. So that was something I made a mistake on there. No, we are modifying it. No, so it does. Wow, I can't even remember my own notes. So this is something you may run into. Your notes and your planning can get really confusing. But so, okay, so remove item amount. Oh, no. Okay, here's where my issue is. Amount equals 0. We need to set that to 0. Return true. Amount minus the current quantity. And this is going through. Yes, that is right. Okay, so I had missed putting this in here. Is that in my notes? No, it isn't. So I had missed adding that in there. Okay, so this makes sense. So now going back to this. So we've got 10. We want to move 10 from one container to another. Temporary amount is 10 here. If we removed all 10 items successfully from our inventory, T amount will be 0. So here we're checking if it is 0, we're going to remove, say the amount we need to add is however many we told it to remove. Otherwise, it's the difference between those two. Now, No, and then I've messed this up. So this is add back, add amount. Is that the one I want? Is that add amount? I'm just looking at this. Okay, so if this, put that in the wrong place. So if this failed to, that'll return true if we have added everything. If it returns false, we may have added some. So this needs to be set to add amount. So that's saying, so again, using that analogy, we have 10 items. We removed 10 items from our inventory. And we tried to add 10 items to this container. If this fails, we will have, because we could only add, say, 5, we're going to have this drop down from 10 to 5. So we need to add 5 of them back. If this removed only remove item, so we didn't remove everything, this is going to return false. So if we didn't remove everything, we removed some of them, we need to add the number we removed, which would be, that would be remaining. So this needs to be this one here, amount minus T amount. Amount minus T amount. Why are you complaining? Initial value of reference to non-const must be an I value. What? They're both an int. An add item takes... Oh, it's because it's a reference. That's why. Readd equals amount minus T amount. And then we need to go readd. And get rid of that extra brace. Yeah. Okay. So this is one I'm going to have to debug once we get back into the engine and we start adding these new components to things, but that's still a couple episodes away. Because this, I'm not 100% sure. Consume item. This one shouldn't be too bad because it's going to be stubbed. So if not is valid item, or amount less than or equal to 0, or item type does not equal en item type, en item type, or E item type consumable. So if we're trying to consume something that isn't a consumable, so that's a food item or a drink, things like that, or a bandage, things like that, we're going to return false. Next, what we are going to do is we're going to do a for loop again for int I equals 0, I less than contents dot num I plus plus. If contents at I dot item data equals item, and items sorry, not items, contents at I dot quantity is greater than 0. So that's just a precautionary, and I missed a double equals there. That's just a precautionary to make sure we're not trying to consume something that we've already used the full stack of and it hasn't been deleted yet. Next, it's going to be contents I dot current quantity, not durability, current quantity minus because we're using 1 each iteration of this. No, we're not. We're oh no, okay, so this is for int j equals 0, j less than amount, j plus plus. Contents I dot current quantity minus No, I'm trying to think. No, I'm not going to add the ability to do multiple stacks, like consume multiple. You have to do them one at a time, because that just overcomplicates this logic, and that's an issue I've ran into with the other stuff, is I overcomplicated things. So if you want to consume 10 bananas, you have to eat them one at a time. You can't say eat 10 bananas. So it's easy enough. We'll get rid of this because we don't need to validate our amount. Okay, so now it's contents I dot current quantity minus to do this is consumption effect if contents dot current quantity is equal to 0, contents dot remove at I. Return true. Okay, so just to run through consumption effect, consume item. So we're checking, are we saying, or the item we're saying to consume, is it valid? If it's not, or if it's not a consumable item, we're just going to fail. If it is a valid item and it's deemed a consumable, we're going to iterate through our entire inventory to see if we can find the item. If it does match and the quantity is greater than 0, and this part is just a check. It shouldn't ever happen, but this is just a validation check. We're going to drop that quantity by 1. I need to add in the consumption logic for this new inventory stuff. And then if we use the last one, we remove it out of our inventory and we return true. Otherwise, obviously we didn't consume it, so we return false. So now we've got our begin play, which we're just adding that interval on there, and that's our decay items, which is we're stepping through if it's a valid, has item decay, and its durability is greater than 0, 0.5. I'm going to go back to that threshold. Again, this needs to be worked on. We're going to say reduce the durability or increase the durability. If it is oh, sorry, greater than or equal to, because otherwise we're going to have the situation between these two where this value, if it hits that, it would go into a limbo state because it was less than 0.005 or greater than 0.005. If it is less than 0.005, we are going to see, does it have anything it breaks down into? If it does, we're going to try adding those to the inventory content. What I also need to do here is on the floor. So what this is if this failed, so it's going to be if not add item so what that'll be is, say again, using that example, you have a hatchet, you break it, your bags are full, it just drops it on the floor instead of it disappearing into the ether. All right, and then add item. It's valid. Add item. If the item isn't valid, we're trying to add 0 or less, or the bag is full or container is full. We're just going to instantly say false. Then we're going to go through every item in our content. We're going to check, is it the same item? If it is it stackable? If it is stackable, we're going to see how many can we add to the stack before the stack gets full. If it is more than that, if we can add anything, we're going to add it to that item. We're going to remove that from our amount. And if we've added everything, we're going to say, okay, we're good. So if you have 5 half stacks, which the way this code is implemented, you're not going to get half stacks. It automatically stacks everything. But if you had somehow 5 half stacks, it's going to go through and add to each of those before it tries to add another one. If after we've added everything to a stack, we still have something left, we're going to, because we've been decrementing the amount here, that's why it was passed in as a reference. We're going to create a new stack. We're going to determine, did that bring us back to 0 for the amount? If it's not, it's going to keep going. So again, going back to the banana analogy, you've got 100 bananas, they stack to 10, you're trying to add all 10. What it's going to do is it's going to go through, make 10 stacks of 10 bananas. You only have 5 slots left. It's going to make 5 slots of 10 bananas. The amount is going to drop down to 50. And then we're at our max slot, so we're going to break out of the while loop. And we're going to return false because we didn't use all of it, and the amount value will be 50 coming out of this add item. Remove item, very similar. So we're checking, is it a valid item? Are we trying to remove 0 or less? If that's the case, we're returning false. Because if you're trying to remove a negative, it's technically an add. Use the add item function. Then we're going to iterate through all of our items in the contents. If they match up, we are going to say, okay, does the current stack size that we've found more than what we're trying to remove? If it is, we're going to remove that. We're going to set amount to 0. We're going to return true. Otherwise, we are going to remove that particular stack amount from however many we're trying to remove. We're going to clear the stack. This resets our for loop iterator, so it'll hit the other item again. And if for whatever reason we've hit we've used all of our amount. Actually, I can move this up here because we can drop out of this for loop quicker. If the amount is less than or equal to 0, we're done. We don't need to do any iterations. We're all good there. And then at the end, it's like, okay, did we remove anything or everything we were trying to? If we did, this was successful. If not, it was a fail. Okay, so transfer item to inventory. Again, we're checking, is it a valid target inventory? Is it a valid item? Is the amount we are trying to transfer greater than 0? If any of those are false, we're just dropping out and saying this didn't work. We're getting a temporary storage amount for however many we're trying to remove. From the current inventory, we are saying remove, again, I'm going to say 10, remove 10 items. If this returned true, it means we removed all 10 items from our inventory, which means this is pointless. Yeah, so this isn't needed. Equals, we just need to remove that. So if this is true, we removed all 10 items. Or using this example, we removed all 10 items, so we need to say our add amount is 10. If we successfully added 10 items to the new contents that we're trying to move it to, everything's good, we're done. If that fails, and I need to add a return in here, and that's why I'm doing this rubber duck debugging with you guys. If this did not successfully transfer all 10 items, we need to add back however many we didn't add. And now we need to return false. I believe that's how I had this coded, right? Yeah, let's return 2. Otherwise, we need to re-add back. Yeah, and then if we failed to remove all of the items, so in here we have a condition where we're saying we want to remove 10. We could only remove 5, and that would return false. If that's the case, this amount here we need to add back. So I don't need all of this. It is just T amount. No, it is, because we wanted 10. Say we removed 6. This would be 4. We need to add 6 back. Yes. So yeah, we want this re-add those items we failed to transfer over and return false again. Now our consume item logic. So again, we're checking, is it a valid item? And if it is it also consumable? If it's not, we're returning false. Don't do anything. If both of those conditions pass, obviously we're going to go into a for loop. We check each item in the contents. If it is the item we are trying to consume, and there is more than 0 in the stack, we're going to decrement the stack by 1. We're going to apply whatever the consumption effects are. If we use the last item in the stack, we're going to get rid of it. We're going to say true. And ultimately, this will iterate through everything. First time we find what we're after, we hit this condition, we drop out. Otherwise, it will continue to iterate through every item. And then, if we haven't done it, it's going to return false. We don't need to add or remove anything here because all this logic controls that. So, with that, folks, I am going to end this episode here. That's the basic framework for the new inventory component in place. I do need to do a little more off-camera work because I need to add in a couple of other things. And I'm not going to add them in off-camera. I need to do the planning. I need to work on consumption effect, how I want to do that. What I need to also do is go through, it's in here, isn't it? Consumption effect. Yeah, it's just, I've got it as a placeholder F string. Also, I want to go through and do some preliminary work for adding in a weight requirement. But that's, anyways, that's for another episode. So, as I said, I'm going to end things off here. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below or hop over onto the Discord server. There should be a link in the video description. If there isn't, there is a link to Discord in the channel's about information. I do respond on Discord quicker than I do on YouTube, just because YouTube notifications just never come through when I need them to. But as always, folks, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.